Have you ever wondered what it would feel like to walk into any room and not care what anyone thinks of you? To speak and people listen without you even raising your voice? To live your life with a calm so powerful that no insult, no opinion, no negativity could ever touch you? What if you could be untouchable, not in the arrogant way, not above people, but above the noise, above the drama, above the triggers? This video is not just another motivation speech. It's a guide to inner power, a reset for your mind. If you watch till the end, you'll walk away with one thing most people never have: psychological immunity. That rare ability to stay composed when others lose control, to speak with confidence when others fold in fear, to lead, even if no one gave you permission to. Stay with this, because the version of you that's untouchable, it's already inside. Now let's unlock it. Let's begin with the truth. The world is loud. People judge. They talk behind your back. They criticize. They question. They poke. And most people, they react. They get defensive. They lose sleep. They try to prove their worth to people who aren't even watching. But you're not most people, are you? You wouldn't be here if you wanted to stay average. You're here because something inside you is done. Done being shaken by small minds. Or done being hurt by words that don't matter. Done being silenced when your voice was born to lead. You want to be unshakable, untouchable, unbothered. And guess what? You can be.
But not by pretending, not by avoiding people.
You become untouchable by changing the way you see yourself and the way you see the world. Because here's what most people don't realize. Being untouchable doesn't mean nothing affects you. It means you choose what's worth your energy. You don't give your peace away easily. You don't trade your focus for attention. You don't hand over your mood just because someone else is in a bad one. Untouchable people don't argue with fools. They don't need to clap back. They don't explain themselves to people who've already made up their minds. Why? Because their power comes from the inside, not from applause, not from validation, but from clarity. They know who they are. And when you know who you are, you don't chase approval. You attract respect. But let's pause here for a second. Why do most people get bothered so easily? Why do words cut deep? Why does rejection hurt so much? Because, at the root of it, we tie our identity to other people's opinions. We want to be liked. We want to be accepted. So when someone questions us, it feels like a threat, a personal attack. But here's what the untouchable mind knows. Your value isn't up for debate. And people's opinions, they're just reflections of them, not you. You don't need to win every argument. You don't need to convince people to understand you. You need to understand yourself. There's a reason ancient warriors were trained not just with weapons, but with silence, with stillness, with discipline of the mind. Because the strongest person in the room isn't the loudest. It's the one who's not triggered, the one who doesn't flinch under pressure, the one who can hear insults and not feel the need to respond. That's not weakness, that's real control, that's power. Now imagine this, imagine living with that kind of peace. Imagine people pushing your buttons and you don't even flinch. Imagine being in a room full of critics and you still speak your truth, calm, clear, and firm. That's not fantasy, that's training. In this video, this is your starting point. Watch till the end and you'll learn the mind shifts, the communication tools, and the confidence strategies that high-level leaders use every day. People who lead teams, who command attention, who move through life like nothing can disturb their center. That can be you. And it starts now. Because the moment you stop reacting, the moment you stop giving away your energy to every opinion, every look, every tone, you become something rare, something unbreakable, something powerful. You become untouchable. The untouchable mindset begins with one simple decision. You don't get to control me. I do. Not the world, not people, not emotions that rise and fall like storms. This mindset isn't about arrogance. It's about discipline. It's about understanding that the way you feel, the way you respond, and the way you carry yourself is your responsibility. Most people are emotional slaves. One bad comment ruins their day. One rejection makes them doubt their worth. They live in reaction, always chasing validation, always running from rejection. But the untouchable mind sees the game. It knows that peace isn't found by fixing the outside world. Peace is earned by mastering the inside. It's the power to say, I decide how I feel. I decide how I speak. I decide what gets my energy. And here's what makes that mindset rare. It doesn't need to be right all the time. It doesn't need to win every argument. It just needs to stay calm. Because calm is stronger than chaos. Untouchable people don't just survive conflict, they outgrow it. They don't seek revenge, they move forward. They don't scream for respect, they embody it. You can't offend them, you can't shake them with gossip or disrespect, because they're not built on ego, they're built on clarity. This mindset turns pressure into power. It transforms silence into strength, and it takes you from being reactive to commanding respect without even trying. You don't chase being untouchable. You choose it every day, in small moments, in hard conversations. You choose to rise instead of react. And the day you make that choice, everything changes, because once your mind becomes untouchable, no one can ever bother you again. Most people don't even realize how easily they're controlled. Not by chains, but by triggers. One wrong word, and they explode. One small rejection, and they collapse. One opinion, and their whole confidence shatters. But why? Because most people never learned emotional independence. They never learned that thoughts are not commands, and feelings are not facts. So they spend their life reacting to everything and everyone. It all starts with the human brain. The subconscious mind is wired to protect. When it senses rejection, it screams, "You're not safe." When someone disagrees, it whispers, "You're not enough." And when it feels ignored, it yells, "Prove yourself." But that voice isn't truth. It's old programming. It's fear. And fear wants control. That's why triggered people always try to win conversations. They talk over others. They seek approval. They argue, not to connect, but to defend their ego. But here's the truth most people avoid. If someone can control your reaction, they already control you. The untouchable mind sees this trap and steps over it. It doesn't play emotional ping pong. It doesn't get dragged into meaningless drama, because once you understand why you get triggered, you gain the power to stop it. You pause. You breathe. You ask, is this really worth my peace? And in that moment, something shifts. You stop reacting from insecurity, and you start responding from wisdom. That's the turning point. Because strength isn't about being louder. It's about being less reactive. It's about choosing calm when chaos wants attention. It's about being so rooted that storms come and you still stand. Most people are triggered because they've never taken back control of their emotions. But the untouchable mind, it's built on awareness. It's trained to observe, not absorb. That's what makes it powerful. That's what makes it rare. And that's what makes it untouchable. Real power isn't loud. It doesn't scream. It doesn't chase attention. It controls itself, especially when everything else is out of control. Emotional control is the highest form of strength. Because if you can master your emotions, you can master any situation. You become the calmest person in the room and the most powerful. Most people live like this. They get angry. They react. They get hurt. They withdraw. They feel fear. They quit. But what if you didn't? What if you felt the same emotion and chose your response instead? That's emotional control. It means not letting temporary feelings make permanent decisions. It means staying rooted when your ego wants to run wild. It means choosing peace even when pride wants to fight. Because when you react without control, you hand your power away. But when you respond with intention, you take it back. And here's what the untouchable mind understands. No one can control you unless you let them. Not with their words, not with their opinions, not with their disrespect. The moment you stop giving emotional responses to emotional attacks, you rise above them. You don't match their chaos. You set the tone with calm. You don't argue to win. You speak to lead. People feel that. They sense that quiet confidence. They see that you're not shaken, and without saying a word, you earn their respect. Emotional control is not suppression. It's power with purpose. It's the ability to feel everything, but still decide what deserves your energy. You don't owe every emotion a reaction. You don't owe every trigger your time. Sometimes the strongest thing you can say is nothing. Control your mind and you control your life. Control your emotions and you become unstoppable. That's what makes you untouchable. Real leaders never beg to be respected. They don't demand attention. They command it without forcing a single word. Because true respect is not given to the loudest voice. It's given to the most grounded presence. Most people chase respect by performing. They over-explain. They try to impress. They speak more, hoping to sound smarter. But here's the truth. The more you try to prove yourself, the more people sense your insecurity. Untouchable people don't perform. They don't try to be liked. They know their worth, and they carry it in their tone, in their silence, in their stillness. When you talk like a leader, your voice doesn't shake. You don't rush your words. You speak with purpose, not pressure. Psychology teaches us this. People respond to what you believe about yourself. If you believe you're beneath them, they feel it. If you believe you don't belong, they treat you like you don't. But if you walk in like you already earned respect, you get it. You don't need to shout. You don't need to defend. You simply speak from a place of truth, and people listen, because words backed by self-respect carry more weight than words backed by fear. Think about the people you admire. They don't talk to win. They speak to serve, to guide, to move with clarity. They don't need approval because they already approve of themselves. That's what makes them untouchable. And that's what makes you a leader, not your job title, not your background, not your volume, but your presence, your tone, your calm. When you talk like you know who you are, the world listens. You don't have to beg for respect. You simply have to stop chasing it and start embodying it. Silence is not weakness. It's not retreat. It's not fear. Silence is a weapon, and few know how to use it. In a world addicted to noise, silence is power. When others rush to speak, the untouchable mind waits. When others argue to be heard, the untouchable mind listens, not to react, but to understand, to observe, to decide with clarity. Psychologically, silence creates discomfort in the insecure. They feel the need to fill the space. They fear being misunderstood. But a calm, silent presence, it forces people to face their own noise. Silence can be louder than shouting. When someone disrespects you and you don't flinch, when someone tries to provoke you and you simply stare,
That silence?
it echoes, it dominates, because people expect chaos. They expect you to fight back, but when you stay still, they're left battling themselves. Untouchable people don't fear silence. They use it. They know that every response isn't necessary. Sometimes silence is the clearest message. You're not worth my energy. It sets a boundary without a word. It tells the room, I'm not here to play small games. Leaders understand this. They pause before speaking. They make others wait, not out of pride, but out of control. And in that pause, they own the space. You don't always need the last word. You don't need to defend every opinion. When you know your truth, your silence becomes a shield and a sword. Use it with intention. Let people underestimate you. Let them talk. Because while they waste energy, you're preserving yours. While they chase attention, you're building presence. Silence isn't the absence of power. It's the proof that you have it. And you don't need to flaunt it. That's the mindset that makes you untouchable. Words are powerful. They can heal. They can lead. But when driven by emotion, they can also destroy. The untouchable mind never speaks just to release pressure. It speaks to create impact. It speaks with purpose, not emotion. Most people talk because they feel. They feel anger, and they explode. They feel insecure, and they over-explain. They feel unheard, and they talk over others. But when emotion controls your voice, your message loses its strength. People stop listening because what you say isn't grounded, it's reactive. The mind that stays calm before it speaks is the mind that controls the room. Because people don't follow volume, they follow certainty. That's why leaders pause. They think. They choose their words like a warrior chooses their weapons, with precision, with restraint, with power. Here's a truth backed by psychology. People trust those who don't rush. The slower you speak, the more they lean in. The more clearly you speak, the more they believe. Untouchable people don't argue to be right. They speak to be understood. They don't say everything they feel. They say only what's necessary, And that's why their words carry weight. You don't have to react to everything. Not every insult deserves your voice. Not every challenge deserves your energy. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can say is, "I understand," and then walk away. Speaking with purpose is a daily discipline. It requires control. It requires self-respect. And most of all, it requires the strength to pause before you respond. Because in that pause, you choose who you want to be. Do you want to be reactive or respected? Do you want to be loud or listened to? Speak like someone who doesn't need to prove anything. Speak like someone who already owns the room. That's how you separate yourself. That's how you become untouchable. Neediness is loud, even when you don't say a word. It shows in your tone. It shows in your eyes. It shows in your silence when you're hoping to be liked. People can feel when you need them. And human psychology is simple. When you chase approval, people pull away. When you try to impress, they stop being impressed. But when you show up complete, without needing validation, without needing praise, you become magnetic because independence is attractive, confidence is calm, and the person who needs nothing ends up gaining everything. Untouchable people don't attach their value to attention. They don't shrink when ignored. They don't crave recognition from people who can't even recognize themselves. They walk in full, not arrogant, not loud, just whole. You don't have to prove that you're valuable. You are valuable. And when you believe that deeply, people feel it. It's in your posture. It's in the way you speak without trying too hard. It's in your peace. Because here's the shift. When you stop needing people, you're finally free to connect with them. You're not performing. You're not chasing. You're not bending your truth to be accepted. You just show up as you. And that's rare. That's powerful. The untouchable mind has one rule: I give from overflow, not emptiness. It's not cold, it's not distant, it's just rooted. It doesn't need others to feel whole. It chooses people from strength, not loneliness. It offers value, but never begs to be seen. In that quiet confidence, it changes everything, because when you walk in like you already belong, you don't have to ask for space. People make room for you. That's the difference. That's untouchable. Detachment isn't about not caring. It's about caring without losing yourself. It's the secret weapon of those who stay untouchable, no matter what life throws at them. When you're attached, your happiness depends on outside things, approval, results, people's opinions. You become a puppet, pulled by every praise or criticism. But detachment frees you. It says, I value you, but I don't depend on you. I want success, but I don't need it to feel worthy. I love deeply, but I don't lose myself in love. Psychology shows that attachment breeds anxiety. It makes you desperate. It makes you fearful. But detachment builds inner peace. It makes you steady. It makes you unshakable. This doesn't mean you become cold or distant. You remain fully present, fully engaged, but you don't tie your identity to outcomes. When something goes wrong, you don't crumble. You observe, you learn, you adapt. Because you're not hooked on results, you're hooked on growth. Detachment is the balance between caring and freedom. It's the ability to be deeply connected without being controlled. The untouchable mind knows this well. It's the quiet force that lets you keep moving, no matter who doubts you or what falls apart. This power lets you face rejection without breaking. It lets you speak your truth without fear of losing friends. It lets you stay calm when everything around you is chaos. Because detachment means you don't carry the weight of the world on your shoulders. You carry your own weight. And that's enough. When you master detachment, you stop being a victim of life's ups and downs. You become the author of your own story. That's the ultimate freedom. And that's what makes you truly untouchable. Boundaries are not walls. They're not about pushing people away. Boundaries are protection. The armor that keeps your energy safe and your mind focused. Most people live without clear boundaries. They say yes to everything, even when it drains them. They let others cross their lines again and again, hoping to avoid conflict or be liked. But here's the truth. Without boundaries, you're an open door. Anyone can come in, take what they want, and leave you empty. The untouchable mind knows that setting boundaries isn't selfish. It's self-respect. Boundaries say, this is what I accept. This is what I don't. I value myself enough to protect my peace. Psychology tells us that clear boundaries reduce stress and increase confidence. They create respect not just from others, but from yourself. When you set boundaries, you stop people from draining your energy. You stop giving power to those who don't deserve it. You reclaim your time, your focus, your life. But setting boundaries takes courage. It means saying no, even when you want to say yes. It means standing firm, even when others push back. You don't have to explain yourself. A simple, calm no is enough, because your peace is more important than anyone's temporary discomfort. Warriors don't attack without cause. They defend without hesitation. They protect what matters most. Your mind is your battlefield. Set your boundaries like a warrior. Hold your ground and watch how people begin to respect you, not because you demand it, but because you command it. This is not just strength, it's untouchable power. Letting go is one of the hardest things to do, but it's also one of the most powerful, because holding on to pain, grudges, and past mistakes only chains you down. The untouchable mind knows this truth deeply. Clinging to what hurts you only gives it power over your life. Most people get stuck in what happened. They replay moments of failure, betrayal, or disappointment over and over. They carry that weight like a heavy stone on their chest. But letting go isn't forgetting. It's not pretending pain didn't exist. It's choosing freedom instead of bondage. When you let go, you stop giving your energy to what no longer serves you. You clear space for growth, for peace, for strength. Psychology shows that forgiveness, especially self-forgiveness, is a key to emotional freedom. It rewires the brain to release tension. It lowers stress. It makes room for new possibilities. Letting go is not weakness, it's courage. It's the bold choice to move forward even when the past tries to hold you back. The untouchable person doesn't waste time on regret. They don't replay what they can't change. They focus on what they can control, the present moment, their next decision, their next step. When you master the art of letting go, you become lighter, you become freer, you become unstoppable, because the past can't hurt you if you don't let it. Hold your head high, release the pain, walk forward with open hands and an open heart. That's how you stay untouchable, no matter what life throws at you. Confidence doesn't shout. It doesn't need an audience. True confidence is quiet. It's calm. It's steady. On the other hand, doubt is noisy. It makes you second-guess yourself. It pushes you to explain, to justify, to prove. Most people wear their doubt like a badge, talking too much, trying too hard, and searching for validation. But that noise only reveals the inner struggle. It shows that their foundation is shaky. The untouchable mind understands this well. It carries confidence like a silent shield, unbreakable and unseen. Psychology tells us that self-assured people don't need constant reassurance. They don't look for approval in others' eyes because they already approve of themselves. Confidence comes from acceptance, from knowing your value even when others don't see it, from trusting your path even when it's unclear. When you are confident, you don't feel the need to fill every silence. You don't rush to fix every misunderstanding. You stand firm, even in the face of criticism. That's why confident people inspire trust. They make others feel safe because they themselves are secure. Doubt, however, breeds anxiety. It makes you stumble. It makes your voice tremble. It makes you lose your presence. So how do you build silent confidence? By practicing self-belief daily, by embracing your flaws, mistakes, and all, by standing tall even when you feel small inside. Confidence is a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets. Remember, loudness doesn't equal strength. The quiet power of confidence is what makes you truly untouchable. Toxic environments drain your energy. They test your patience. They try to pull you into chaos. But being untouchable means staying above the noise, no matter where you are. You don't have to change the environment to protect yourself. You just have to change your response to it. Psychology teaches us that we can't control others, but we can control how we react. When faced with negativity, untouchable people don't absorb it. They create an invisible shield, a mindset that protects their peace. This means choosing not to engage with drama. It means not giving power to gossip, criticism, or unnecessary conflict. It means walking away mentally, even if you're physically present. When toxic people try to bait you, don't take the bait. Stay calm, stay grounded. Remember, your energy is your most valuable asset. If you feel your calm slipping, pause, breathe. Remind yourself that their chaos is their problem, not yours. Untouchable people build walls with their mindset, walls that negativity can't penetrate. They don't waste time trying to fix others. They focus on themselves, on their goals, on their growth. It's not about avoidance. It's about prioritizing your peace. In toxic environments, the strongest move is often silence and distance. You don't owe anyone your time or your energy. By mastering your inner world, you become untouchable everywhere. No matter how toxic the environment, you remain unshaken. That's the real power. That's the freedom. Being untouchable is not about perfection. It's not about never facing challenges or never feeling pain. It's about how you respond to life's storms, with strength, calm, and purpose. The untouchable mindset is a choice, a daily decision to rise above fear, doubt, and negativity, to build inner walls that no one can break. It means owning your story, every success, every failure, and learning from it all. It means walking with quiet confidence, knowing your worth even when the world tries to shake it. Psychology proves that mindset shapes reality. When you believe you are untouchable, you begin to live that truth. You stop being a victim of circumstances and start being the author of your life. This mindset doesn't isolate you. It frees you. It allows you to connect deeply, but without losing yourself. To love fully, but without depending on others for your happiness. Your path forward is clear. Build your boundaries. Speak with purpose. Embrace silence. Let go of what holds you back. Respect yourself fiercely. Every step you take toward this mindset strengthens your shield. And with that shield, no one can bother you again. You become untouchable, not because you're above others, but because you're grounded deeply in who you are. So start today. Choose the untouchable mindset and watch how your life transforms, because your peace, your power, and your freedom are worth it.